Okay, Heather, we're going to get going. Welcome, everyone. Great to see you guys inside and warm on this cold, windy day here in Toronto, Thornhill, Canada. Yeah, we're in the story, Maisa of Chochom Vetam, the story of the sophisticate and the simpleton. And we are right now, if you're following along in Rav Shalom Arish's book, we are on page 59. And we're about to get into some more awesome inyanim today. Especially we're going to really start to get into the kishkes of Rav Arish's shitas on this. We didn't speak much from Rav Arish's book yet in the first two shiurim. But in this one now, we'll get into some of his ideas, as well as some of the other ideas from Rav Kivak and the Rimzei Maisius also. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. So when we last left our heroes, so the Chochom and the Tam were boys, young boys in their houses, the houses of wealth, spiritual wealth and security. And as they got older, the wealth of their father's houses diminished. And the one brother, the one boy, the Tam, the simpleton, he maintained his connection and his desire to be connected to the way that his father taught him, to the way of Tamimus. But the other boy, the Chochom, he started straying further and further away from the spiritual security and wealth of his father's house, and began to go and search after his own Chochmah, his own wisdom. And we saw many amazing things last time, and we're going to pick right back up where we were, and keep going. We got a few more fantastic statements today. Maybe you'll remember last time we had one of our statements was, do something good now. Do something good now. Don't worry. Don't think too deeply about, if I'm not doing it perfectly, if I'm not doing it on the highest level, I'm not doing it to the absolute best way that I could. Right? I'm not connecting. I'm not becoming enlightened. Right? So therefore, I might as well not do anything. We can live a life of never accomplishing anything, never connecting, never becoming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, never nothing. Do something good now is one statement we had last time. And we also had from last time, stay in your lane. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to get too caught up in different understandings that are meant for someone else. Don't try to get too caught up in where if I see that person seems to be smarter than me. That person seems to be tapped into something else. And we could be pulled after 500 different people in the world by behaving like this. Stay in your lane. Stay where you are. In a similar way, we saw also that the Chochom, he was looking for a job, right? And he was not happy. He was not good. He wouldn't accept a low-level type of position. He couldn't accept menial jobs. Right? He said, no. I have to find a high level job. And if I don't have a high level job, then I can't do it. And as a result, he ends up doing nothing and accomplishing nothing. Right? So one of the things we have to do is stay in our lane. Where am I right now? What are my abilities? What did Hashem give me right in front of my face right now that I can do? Stay in our lane. Stay in our lane. Do something good now. Those were two of the main statements that we had last time. So today, we're going to go to the next step and the next level. So we remember that the Tam, the simpleton, he became a shoemaker. And one of the inyanim of being a shoemaker is that he just makes one day he makes one shoe. The next day, he makes another shoe. And that's all he does. The next day, he'll start a new pair. He'll make one shoe, then another shoe. And in this way, Rabbi Nachman is teaching us this beautiful importance of just going one step after the other. Not being too involved in what's going to be the ultimate outcome. Right? We know the outcome is not up to us. right? It's even loya leinu ha-malacha ligmar. We're not even expected necessarily to finish the job. Sometimes that kind of thought is for the creator of the world. He knows the end of the story. We don't always get to know the end of the story, right? We don't get to know the end of the story. We don't even get to know, where the tikkunim are going to come from, where the sparks of kedusha are going to be elevated from. We don't always get to know. What do we have? What do we know? One foot after the other. I'm going to do something now, and then next I'm going to do something else. I'm going to keep moving, keep working, keep going. That was the Tam. The beautiful, beautiful Tam. Okay. So, not like that. Mashein Kain. I'm reading now from Rav Kiva here, and we'll get to the next part in the story. Mashein Kain. 1 second. So what does the Tam do? Not like this. Mashein Kain Tam. Af shebevadai tzorech lishoy des maisav. We're not saying that you don't have to look at what you're doing. You don't have to think about what we're doing. We don't have to make plans. We don't have to judge ourselves. We're not saying that at all. But aval lamaisa hu chai b'simcha, kamoy shematzav b'zois hasha. Just like the whatever is going on in his life right now. Baruch Hashem shezeh lo yoser garua. Baruch Hashem, it's not worse than it is right now. B'gashmias b'tzar harchavasli b'ruchnias azamar l'kai ba'oidi. Right? If things are difficult with parnasa, things are difficult with gashmias. Okay, it's hard, but you know what? At least I'm here. At least I am where I am right now. And with ruchnias, if I'm struggling with my avodas Hashem, with my learning, I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna look for my good points, for my nekudas tovos, and I'm gonna find where I am doing something good, and focus on that. Baruch Hashem, yesh bi tov. Baruch Hashem, there's something good about me. I do have some good in me, at least. Zeu klal oratam. This is the light of the Tam. Awesome. Okay. So it says like this: V'zeh Tam shomer al habeis av ha'asher. He remains connected to and guards his connection to the house of his father. V'chein kol adam shoyvet Hashem yisbarach b'timimus. So too, anyone who serves Hashem with tamimus, with simplicity. B'chinas yoshev b'seitzer elyon shenistater v'nischar v'etzal yisbarach. Ki ba'olam hazeh ein lo shum banim klal. V'nidme be'enei kol kechaser deya mali simcha imapel shalai. This is an important point. We can't be afraid to be happy with the simple things that we have in our lives. Have you ever recently been involved in a situation or met a person who is upset with you because you're too okay with things? You're not upset at like, I'm going to use this as an example, even though I try to stay away from this as an example. I'm going to use it anyway, so don't get mad at me. But there's hardly anyone who's too upset about COVID these days. It's almost not even on the news anymore, Baruch Hashem, right? But did you ever see such a situation where someone couldn't stand it, that you were just able to go on with emunah and just be okay and just be happy and be like, I'm not thinking about this. I'm not going to allow myself to be pulled down constantly about what could be. Who knows what's going to be, right? Even when it was bad, person can't stand it. They look at you like, oh, well, clearly this person must be stupid. Obviously, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. And you could take this. It doesn't have to be COVID. It could be anything, right? Mamish could be anything. Why? Obviously, if you're just okay with the way things are and you're just happy, there must be something wrong with you and you must be stupid. Don't let such thoughts pull you out of that beautiful, beautiful, sweet simplicity. Because that sweet simplicity is where it's at. That is where it's at. And you're not dumb. You're still thinking about things. And you're still making good plans and deciding to live your life in a good way. But while you're doing that, you've made yourself a deal that I'm going to just be happy and okay with what's happening. I'm going to be okay with it. I'm going to be b'simcha my whole life. He says, "V'nidme be'enei kol kechasr deya." You appear to everyone else like you're lacking brains. This is the person who's living a happy life in the world, a wealthy life, a spiritually wealthy life. There's always something to be besimcha about, to be happy about, every day of a person's life. This is the main purpose of our avodah. Lirois b'chol yom v'shah lios betuv u'besimcha, to always be happy and besimcha. And he says, "Ve'ikar hasimcha hu b'chinas ratzan." The main simcha is this aspect of the shoemaker. What does it mean? He takes this piece of the skin of the Bahamiyos. She'ein simcha gedola mezu u'bezeh hu oizev es ha-dimyonos shemafate moisei lachshav machshavos tadiyos imatzliach. He's not thinking about this, the shoemaker. Am I going to be properly successful? Are my shoes gonna get the right level of connections on Amazon? Is my Amazon store going to have enough views and enough support, and are people going to share it, and is it going to go viral? Are all my things going to go viral so that I'm gonna, and what's going to be my next thing? Because I can't just keep doing this forever, right? I need to think about what's going to be the next business and the next business, and right? Not like that. What's he doing? He's taking one piece of leather today, he's tanning it, he's dyeing it, and he's making it into something today. Not that we all have to be shoemakers, but we all have to take that thing that we can work on, that we can do right now, and do it with simcha, without worrying about what's going to be in the future. Not worrying, you know what I mean. And it's through this that a person comes to shleimus. Okay, that's where we left off. Let's look now, the next part of the story. So, in the Hebrew it says like this: Chochom, shayabar havana loy haya retzonei lasek b'melacha peshuta kazu. The Chochom, the wise one, he was a bar havana. He had a sharp mind. So, page 59, second paragraph of the story in the Garden of Wisdom. And the clever one, who had a sharp mind, did not desire to engage in common handiwork like this. He did not want to do the common handiwork. Okay, we're going to get to something good here. So, like this. The Tam understands that he has to live with simplicity. He has to work right now. He has to do whatever he can right now. But the Chochom does not hear this. He doesn't remember what it means to live a life of spiritual wealth. And he cannot stand to do something that doesn't fit his honor. He holds himself, because of his intellect, because of his sharp mind, that just was something that Hashem gave him. He didn't do anything, right? He holds himself to a level, and he says, because I'm smart, because I'm a bar havana, I deserve to do things befitting of my level of intellect. It has to fit my honor, whatever I'm going to do. And this type of simple thing is not for me. Right? So he begins, Chochom, kol nefilosav, all of his fallings, his descent. He lives like this. He's only looking for high-level things, high-level understandings, high-level employment, honor, all of these types of things. And because of this, he cannot engage, he refuses to engage in simple avodah, simple work. He feels that it's beneath him. And this is the beginning of his fall, when he decides that it's beneath his honor to do simple work. It's beneath his honor to do simple work. So what happens? he doesn't do anything. What's simple work? Simple work in Avodas Hashem, you know what it is? It's just trying to be besimcha. This is simple Avodas Hashem. Just giving a little tzedakah. That's simple Avodas Hashem. Just trying to pray sincerely. It's simple Avodas Hashem. This Chochom feels that this stuff is beneath him. I can't do this. I have to reach for the stars. Right? I can't learn a story. I have to go to the deepest Kabbalah. I have to go to the deepest Likutei Moharan even. Why? Because I have to understand it, and I have to show everyone that I can understand it. I'm not going to be one of these Breslevers who wants to be happy and wants to be besimcha. That's not for me. I am a Talmid Chacham. You can imagine such a person walking around with a nice hat. I also have a nice hat. Walking around with a nice hat, and you know, if you seeing someone in the street, happy and dancing. Maybe, you know, you ever been in Eretz Yisrael, and you'll see sometimes a group of people will just be dancing or singing. Usually it's Nanach Breslevers, right? And they're happy. They're mamish happy. B'simcha. You can just imagine a certain very a Talmid Chacham who holds himself in very high esteem, walking by and looking down and saying, ugh, well, that's not for me. I am a person of wisdom. I am a person of high-level Torah. Dancing, singing, and happiness is not for me. It's beneath me. Right? Ki haklal hu shebechol eis yesh la'adam ma la'asais kol yemei chayav. So he doesn't do anything. And the klal is that there's always something to do. There's always something to do right now. There is always something to do. Such a person is never satisfied, is always looking for the next thing, something higher, something better, something deeper. And because they're always looking and they never find it, they don't engage in anything. There's always something to do. Okay, so what happened? So we're going to move on to something very interesting here. The next thing that it says is Vayishev b'daitai sheyelech ba'olam v'yistakel ma lasais v'yhoylech u'meshoytet bashuk. So he decided in his mind that he is going to go out into the world and look for something to do. And so he went and wandered through the marketplace. Look on page 59 in Rav Arush. So there's a lot to talk about here. Let's start with Rabbi Arush, with what Rav Arush says in the second from last paragraph on that page. So what does he do? This person, he now goes, he's trying to decide, what am I going to do? So, is this a bad thing? Rabbi Arush says, thought before action is certainly praiseworthy, especially before major decisions. We have to think. Once again, the Tam is not stupid. The Tam is not a person who doesn't think. But that thinking needs to be in the realm of Vayishev b'daitai, of this Breslover concept of Yishuv Hadas, which means emunah and clarity connected to Hashem. Emunah and clarity connected to Hashem. Divine, so Rav Arush says, however, the moving force in one's contemplations and considerations, what Rabbi Nachman calls self-composure, should be divine wisdom and not one's own wisdom. Whereas divine wisdom leads to truth, one's own wisdom leads to repeated mistakes. So this guy thinks that he can understand what he should do and make major decisions without prayer and without consulting Hashem. We're coming now to one of the main points in the whole book by that Rav Arush brings down. And it's connected very much to Rav Arush's, he's always talking about emunah. But the thing that the Chochom is missing is what he calls in English over here, personal prayer. He's missing hispoidus. He's not talking to Hashem. He's not looking for divine wisdom. He's going out and just trying to see what he can find. Using his own wisdom to see what he can find. Oh my gosh, I know, I've known a few people like this, and you see that people just have to go through it. Where a person is going through a big life change. And things are difficult, and maybe there's legal matters involved. Maybe there's family matters involved. But this person has got it all figured out. And they're going to go and they're going to get this lawyer and they're going to do it this way and they're going to use the system this way. And you know what happens? They find that they don't know the system as well as they thought they did. They didn't ask people with experience. They didn't ask advice of someone wise. They didn't go and do hisbodedus and see what should they really be doing and how does a person of Emunah guide themselves through such a situation. They just go in and the system eats them up and throws them out, and they've lost money and they've lost friends and family members and all kinds of things, and they end up coming back in the end and looking for people who they can ask for advice, wise people. They start looking inward and maybe starting to talk to Hashem because they realize that their own seichel took them down terrible pathways, right? This is what this person does. You know how we always call emunah calm confidence? Calm confidence. A person who goes and spends time in hisbodedus comes to the state of yishuv hadas, of clear thinking. I've spoken to Hashem. I've been searching for divine wisdom, and he does it in a way that he's not forcing his own intellect. Do you remember we talked before about hisbodedus? Has anyone done hisbodedus before? Went out, spent time alone, and talked to Hashem, but like it didn't work. And things just, I've been trying, it's not working. It's not happening. So one of the things is, that we see, Rabbi Nachman says, is hisbodedus requires, very importantly, bittul. Self-nullification. What does that mean? It means we have to understand, remember this? Sandra, I told you this before? People think, not about you, but people think that hisbodedus is me going out and telling Hashem what he needs to do for me. Right? Hashem, I know what I'm missing, and you need to give it to me. Why aren't you giving it to me, Hashem? Right? That's not bittul. That's the opposite. That's absolute ego. And if a person, even if they're in hisbodedus, trying to talk to Hashem, but it's all from a place of ego and lack of bittul, it's not going to work. So Rav Arush says, the bottom of page 60, as soon as a person makes the first move to go out on his own in the world, he must be honest and acknowledge his inability to know what's best for him. He should turn to Hashem and say, Master of the world, I have no idea what's best for me, or which path in life I must pursue. Even the things I like to do, who knows if they are my mission in life? I know I'm subjective, and all I have, and that I have all types of bodily urges and appetites that cloud my decision making. So please lead me on the right path. Please help me perform my mission in life. What a different perspective for a person to take. To say, Hashem, I don't know what the right path for me is necessarily. I know I have to think about it. And I know you gave me different abilities, and those come into account. But I'm always looking for the Ribono Shalom, for the Master of the world, for Hashem, to guide me. And even if I don't, at every moment of my speaking with Hashem, get a clear answer, I'm putting myself on that path. That it's not all in my own brain. It's not all in my own intellect. I'm looking for Hashem. I'm looking for Hashem's guidance, and I will get it. I will find it if I stay on that path. But if I don't, and if I just go after my own intellect, I'm done. I'm mamish going to be done. Oy vavoy. So it's humble. It's humility. It's being humble. It's working on bittul and knocking down the ego, and just being open to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being open to the guidance of Hashem. This is the pathway of the Tam, and this is where Rav Arush takes it at this point. So he asks another question. You're going to ask me, right? One of you is thinking this right now, and you're going to ask, hold on a second. But Hashem gave me things. He gave me abilities, and He gave me desires. Why do I have these? Am I just supposed to completely ignore them? Like, what? I have these things. and I know about them. Shouldn't I think about them? Right? So he says over here, Hashem gives us affinities. This is page 61. Hashem gives us affinities and talents that, when used correctly, channel us in the direction that's optimal for each of us. When used correctly, channel us in the direction that's optimal for each of us. Therefore, a person should not dismiss or disregard their personal preferences. We all need to do serious soul searching to determine if our personal inclinations are the result of bodily lust or of one's true heartfelt desire. For example, everyone must ask Hashem for help in making accurate decisions, such as, Hashem, why do I desire to go to medical school? Do I truly want to cure people and help relieve suffering in the world? Or do I simply desire money and prestige? Please guide me. That's like a pretty superficial understanding, like a situation, right? But we all experience these all the time. We're always being pulled by our desires, by our bodies, by our thoughts into different places, and we always have to think, what am I doing here? Where am I following the right path? Am I using the thoughts and the desires that Hashem gave me in the right way? Wow. So many ideas, so many ideas. So we have to follow these things. They're there for a purpose. Another good example might be, let's say you have a family, and there's a parent. Both parents work. They both work in jobs, okay? And they're both high-achieving people, both in business. And they find that they're really being pulled away from the family a lot. They have to spend so much time at work all the time. But they also see that it pays off. They're both really good. So the more time they spend at work, the money is rolling in. They're making, millions of dollars. And so they say to themselves, well, listen, you know what? We're making millions of dollars and we're going to give tzedakah. We need to make this money because we need to be able to support the community. Right? That's what they say to themselves. It's a divine mission. I have to go make money, and then I have to set up a foundation, and through my foundation, people are going to come, and I'm going to be able to help all these people who need tzedakah, who need donations, who need money, with food, with healthcare, with everything that they need. Right? It sounds noble. It sounds like a good way to go. And you see, Hashem made them successful and gave them the talents and the abilities to do this. Right? But maybe they didn't think enough about, what am I here for? Are my children getting enough of me? Am I spending enough time with my children? Am I guiding them in the way they need to be guided? Is the fact that I'm going to make all this money and save the world, is that my main purpose? Or do I need to give more time to my family? Right? Where is my lane? What lane am I supposed to be in? What lane am I supposed to stay in? Right? Am I setting up a foundation? I'm making millions of dollars. Am I setting up a foundation now because I really want it to be the most able? I want there to be a system set up that money can get to people who need it, and that there's a fund, and it continues to grow over years and years and years and years, and there's always money going to be there, and it's going to be great. Or do I really, really want that it's going to be the Rabbi Avram Gislason Foundation on the sign? Is that what I want? Right? If I'm making the foundation, I have to name it after my family, right? It has to have my name on it. It's just to make sense, of course. But really, that's not why I'm doing it. Are you sure that's not why you're doing it? That requires hisbodedus. It requires a person to talk to Hashem. Am I doing the right thing? I know this is a crazy discussion because none of us are making foundations, right? As far as I know, anyway. But this is the type of thought. Am I doing the right thing? I want to tell you a quick story that I heard from Rabbi Weinberger, Moshe Weinberger. This story, I love it so much. It's so sweet. So he tells the story like this. I got that, Yaakov, yet. Mitzvah Hashem, there'll be 10 foundations in the future. We'll all be giving away tons of tzedakah. So a story like this. When Rabbi Moshe Weinberger was a kid, and he was in university, college, in America. And so it happened to be that at one point in his university career, he was having a hard time. And he was struggling with something. And so one day, it's the middle of the afternoon, and he's like, I need to talk to my father. So he calls his father's shop. His father owned a dry cleaning shop. And his mother went to work there also. And so he called the shop in the middle of the day, and his mother answered the phone. And she said, what's going on? What are you calling in the middle of the day for? And he said, I'm having a really hard time. And things aren't going the way I want them to go. It's difficult for me. I really need to speak to Tati. And his mother's like, it's the middle of the day. The shop is busy people here. Are you sure you need? He's like, yeah, it's really hard for me right now. I need to speak to him. Can I please speak to him just for a few minutes? So she puts the phone on hold. And the father comes back onto the phone and asks him, what's going on? Are you okay? Is everything okay? And he speaks to his father for like an hour and a half. And his father helps him, really makes him feel better. And so he comes home, later that day or that week, and he walks in the door, and his mother is upset with him. His mother says to him, what are you doing calling the shop in the middle of the day? Don't you know your father works? He's got to make money for the family. And he's like, well, I just was having a hard time. I just wanted to speak to him for a little bit. He's like, do you know what your father did? When he heard that there was something wrong and you needed to speak to him, there were people in the store. He put the phone on hold. He asked everybody in the store to leave, put the close sign on, locked the door, and shut the store. And so he could speak to you for a couple of hours and help you. And so Rabbi Weinberger felt terrible. He's like, oh my gosh, that's what I didn't mean for him to shut the shop completely. I just wanted to speak a little bit. So he went to apologize to his father. And he said, Tati, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to close the shop. I didn't want to take, your business away. I wanted to speak and whatever. You know what his father said to him? This is a Chochom, the real type of Chochmah. His father said to him, why do you think I go to work? Everything I do is for you. Everything I do is for you. I'm not going to work to make money except to help you to be successful, so you could have a future. And if you need to speak with me, if something's going difficult, that's the only reason that I'm here. It's a little bit of a different perspective than that family where the two parents are working so much and they just need to make so much money in order so that they can save the world, right? What about that child? What about those people who really need you? We can't forget about those people, and with divine guidance, with hisbodedus, with advice from wise people, we can help to see what's important and where we can help to see where our lane is, the lane that we're supposed to be traveling on. It's a good story, right? I love this story. So this is what this is not what the Chochom does. The Chochom does not go and engage in trying to become more and more humble. The Chochom does not go and out in the forest to engage in contemplation with Hashem. He doesn't go and seek out people of wisdom to help to guide him. What does he do? He goes out into the world to look, and goes and hangs around in the market to see what's going on. He goes, what's the translation that he says over here? Mistoivev bashuk. Wandered through the market. I'm going to see what he can see. That's it. I'm going to see what I can see. Let's hear some of the wisdom of Rav Kivak over here. So first of all, the shuk is a makom chitzonim. Shalasham tzarich laredes kedei levar habiruim. That's where you have to go in order to figure things out. Vein makam lechapes anashim. It's not a place to look for people. V'zeh hachacham yored l'shuk lechapes. Ubazeh yesh lizar me'oid. Shechachmas adam tevienu lachshev me'atachlis shel kol davar. A person has to be extremely careful that when they go into such a place, they're not just wandering around trying to see where's the wisdom. What can I find? What is there out here? Rather, to be looking for the tachlis shel kol davar. What's the tachlis shel kol? What's the purpose of everything I'm experiencing right now? Listen to these few words. Ma ritzoni achshav bekach. A person should always think, what is my desire with this thing that I'm connected to right now? What is my need, my desire? What do I want from this right now? What am I doing here? Im eno yadaber, and if eno yadeya, if a person doesn't know, adaber mishu sheyazar li, I'm going to speak to someone who can help me. V'yilmad oisi ma'alas ois le'inyan, and can teach me and help me to figure out what's the right thing to do. Ve'loi stam lehistoivev, and not just to wander around looking. Loi stam lehistoivev, wandering around, aimlessly searching for who knows what. This, right now, is a plague of our generation to such a great extent. It's unbelievable how powerful this is. If I change the words a little bit, so I have a new sentence for us. You ready for this sentence? Stop aimlessly searching for purpose. Change one word. Stop aimlessly searching and scrolling for purpose. What do we find ourselves doing? There's a close to infinite amount of content out there. We could literally spend 100,000 lives looking through all of the different articles and advice, pieces of advice, and videos about this and videos about that, and now with artificial intelligence, it's going to become way worse. There's just going to be endless streams of fake consciousness that we could literally spend lifetimes being mistoivev through, just wandering through the markets. What am I going to see? You know, a person, you can have people, there's people shop different ways, right? There's an idea that certain people, they just go shopping. Why? I just want to go shopping. I don't need anything. There's nothing in particular I want to buy. I just want to shop. I'm not necessarily saying that's terrible. You have to shop, you have to get stuff every once in a while, right? You have to get what you need. But some people just have this thing about shopping. I need to go shopping. And so they're going to go to a mall and they're just going to wander around. Be mistoivev in the shuk, in the mall, and see, oh, maybe this, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe this. Right? I happen to not think that that's the best use of someone's time, but it's not the worst. It's not so terrible, right? Maybe it's better to be like, okay, I need something, so I'm going to figure out what I need, and then I'm going to go look around to find the right thing of what I need. Get first in my mind what I have to do. I spoke to someone not too long ago who has a lot of big problems. But one of them is that they're a compulsive spender, and they're like kimat a hoarder. Their house is filled with junk, like piled up, and they have like hundreds and thousands of sealed boxes that they've actually never even opened because there's too much stuff. Right? And what do? They just want to be shopping, period. Not that there's something to get. Oh, I gotta buy, I have to buy, I want to look at this, I want to look at that, I want to look at this, I want to look at that. Mistoivev in the shuk, hanging around the shuk. And so this person's house is cluttered and filled. It's a mess, and you can't make heads or tails or anything. Right? So too. I mean, obviously, the idea that this person should have in their head is I shouldn't just go and buy more stuff. If I need something, I should go and get what I need. But my house is filled like feet high with junk piles. I shouldn't go buy any more stuff, right? Makes sense? Obviously. We do the same thing with our intellect, with our emotions, with our spirituality. We're just looking everywhere. And we're like, oh, maybe here, maybe here. Oh, wait a second. Someone else just told me about something that sounds really exciting. What if I miss out on that? You know this term of fear of missing out, FOMO? It's a huge problem. Oh, what if the wisdom that guy has is some? What if someone else that I know knows the wisdom from this person, and I don't know it, but I want to be able to talk to them about it. I want to show that I also know it. So I need to learn that. I need to learn that. I need to study this. I need to study that. I need to go everywhere to develop all the types of wisdom, all the types of spirituality, all the types of self-help, everything I can do, personal growth. And my consciousness becomes the house of a hoarder. It's so filled up with all kinds of different junk. Sometimes it's good stuff, but it's so filled and nothing makes any sense. I can't think. I can't be clear. I have no idea where my life is going because it's just a gigantic pile of junk. We're calling this person the spiritual and intellectual hoarder. Yeah? That's what this person is. Someone sent me something today. This is a good example of this. Sent me something today from a certain rabbi, a certain group. And it was a whole thing that was, very choppy, very verging on a little bit crazy, and very fear-based. Just all this negative stuff that this is happening, and this is and the end. It's the end of the universe, and this is negativity and day of hate, and this is right. And when a person takes that in, the person showed this to me, and the person already knew, smart person, was like, this is not for me, right? And I was like, you're absolutely right. Stay far away from this. It's just clogging everything up. Did you see what happened? There was this thing called the Day of Hate this past week, right? I don't want to talk about it too much. But some people, who didn't know anything about this? Like 99.9% of Canadians had no clue about the Day of Hate. And you know what happened in Canada? Almost nothing. You know what happened in America? Almost nothing. But you know what happened to a huge percentage of Jews? They got whipped up into a frenzy of fear and lack of emunah, and people didn't leave their houses, and people didn't go to shul. Of course, you had many Jews who said, no, we know that we have to stand proud and we have to be strong. Many people did this, of course. But many people just shut themselves down with fear. Why? Because there's no contemplation, there's no humbleness, there's no talking to Hashem, there's no getting advice from wise people. It's just the flow, hoarding information, hoarding news, hoarding spirituality, hoarding everything. And it's a mess. You guys with me on this? Yeah? So this is Leis Toivev. We cannot keep scrolling. We cannot keep searching. This is what the Chochom does. He goes out into the world and out into the marketplace. I can't believe that this story existed before we had our current, existence of social media and just media in general. That's so much stronger than it used to be. It's like now it's so poignant and it makes so much sense to us. It's like he's talking specifically to us, right? Remember back in like the 70s or 80s? It wasn't the same. There wasn't so much you couldn't absorb. There wasn't so much information. The guy, you heard the news once a day and it was just news, like facts that happened. It was very different. Now we're being totally pummeled with so much. Being b'shuk. Anyway, this is what I think very powerful. Okay, so what happens with the Chochom is that he keeps going, and he sees that everything that's going on, and he says, the first thing that he says is, I can't be a shoemaker. I can't be such a person. And so the first mistake he makes is that he takes himself out of the realm of simplicity and simple avodah. That's the first thing that he does. And v'zehu tachlis hanafila, shalei hachachma oizev legamre es tachlis. These are powerful words. When he decides who pasal es kol hamalachos apshutais ad shelo chipes klal malacha, the Chochom says, I am beyond all of this type of work. To the extent where he's not even really looking for work anymore. He just goes out to wander. Right? By saying, all this work is beneath me, he's actually taken himself out from the realm of malacha, of avodah, completely. He's not even looking for work. So he says, "V'zeu tachlis hanafila." This is the essence of his fall over here, of his first descent. Sha'adei hachachma oizev legamre es tachlis. Through his wisdom, he's completely abandoned the entire purpose of everything he was trying to do. He's abandoned the purpose. The purpose is for him to find a job, to work. But because of his wisdom, he's doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. So this is what it's like for a Jew. This is what we said before. V'chein, b'avodas Hashem. Also in our serving Hashem. Yesh avodos peshutos. There's simple avodah. Lis yageya b'tefila. To put in energy to prayer, to davening. V'lios b'simcha. To be b'simcha. V'yesh adam chacham shezeh loy matim loy ki hu chacham. And this is the guy we're talking about before, right? We got to name all these guys, all these characters that we're coming up with over here. The guy who walks around with his nice long coat and a nice hat. I'm saying I have these nice coat and a hat, right? But he holds himself to be superior, and he sees some people davening with energy and singing, and he's like, I don't do that. I'm too important to engage in such lowly behavior, right? He loses everything. He can't do simple avodah, or he will refuse to learn something that seems more simple. So this is where he finds himself. So let me ask you this, the last point for today, something a little bit scary. We can see sometimes we get led into a dark place when we find ourselves in this realm, like this. So listen to these words. When a person doesn't have the power, the strength to be able to strengthen his intellect, let's say. So, for example, I'm saying like this. This is the way I'm understanding this. A person doesn't align with their own expectations of themselves with regards to intellect and wisdom, enlightenment, achievement. I've set myself up that the place that I need to reach is higher than who I am. I'm only going to engage in spiritual endeavors for the purpose of, ecstatic enlightenment, meditative bliss. I'm only going to engage in ruchnius, in mitzvahs, if it's going to get me there. And I see that it's not getting me there. I'm only gonna take a job. I literally know a person who is literally going through this right now. I've been already a successful business person, so I can't just take any job now. I can only be the boss. I can only be a CEO. And so the person's been out of work for 5 years, and everything that he comes across makes this person feel like, I just can't do that. They have nothing. They have nothing. Because they can't reach and align with the expectation that they have set for themselves. The unreasonable expectation they've set for themselves. I will never be happy with myself. I'll never be comfortable with my life if I don't, have a successful business and a big house and nice cars, and I'm the one giving out the money to all those who need it. If I can't do that, I won't be happy. And if I'm not there, I feel so bad about myself, and I'm angry at Hashem, and I'm angry at all the people, blaming all the people who I feel are holding me back and holding me down. Right? So this person, there's a big gap between where they expect to be, where they feel they need to be, and who they are, and where Hashem has put them. This is a very good example of yes, Rabbi Yaakov, a lack of humility, but of someone who is oblivious. They're not only not staying in their lane, they're oblivious to where their lane is. Right? They have no clue whatsoever. And so, such a person is going to fall into what? Into some type of atzvus, some type of sadness, some type of depression. Because I'm always angry. I'm never happy. Because nothing is where it's supposed to be. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. The opposite of the tam. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. So such a person, he says, V'yesh bazeh even negev sha'amalek mapiloi. This is where the even negev, you know what this means in Hebrew, anybody? It's some type of smiting stone. I don't know exactly what but this is the weapon that Amalek takes up to totally knock a person out. Laleches, lishon, olechol. To go, where does a person find themselves falling into? Oversleeping, overeating, sleeping and eating, falling into these realms. These are the dark places where we go, where when we feel so unhappy with ourselves, where we're so disconnected to the inherent simcha in everything, and the current moment, that people eat and get overweight and get more unhappy and more unhappy because they're filling something up that cannot be filled with food. Just trying to fill a hole, right? I can't get up in the morning. I can't. I'm just gonna go. I need to have a nap. I need to have a nap. Right? Why? Because I can't. I'm not happy. I don't want to be awake. I can't take the place that I'm at right now. I'm not happy. I can't accept where I am right now. It's literally the opposite of the tam. This is what happens to the Chochom. And he forgets the simple advice to just do something simple. Learn something simple. Give a little bit of tzedakah. Just do something nice. Just do something good. Kan ha'adam toye k'she'eno oise masheken yachol. This is the mistake a person makes when they don't do what they are able to do. They don't do what they can do. I'm so involved in wishing that I was over there, I don't realize that there's something I can do right now. Right? What if I can? You know, what's a couple things that we said? You know what I can do right now? Okay, so I'll go and I'll volunteer somewhere. I'm gonna go, you know what? I gotta call my mother. I gotta go call that guy who's lonely. You know, I have a friend that I have who's always lonely. I'm gonna call them, do a nice mitzvah. You know what? I'm not going to be able to make $1 million this year. So you know what? I'm going to take that job that's going to give me, $50,000, $100,000. I can do it. That's something I can do. Okay, I'll try to move onward. But such a person misses this key piece of advice, that they don't do what they actually can do. This is the beginning of their fall. B'yishuv hadas she'eno yishuv das klal. They don't have any settled mind. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Ma'or Rasano, Rabbi Nachman is awakening us, arousing us, Lehinatzo mizeh hatos, to be saved from this mistake, Mitatos Harishon. This first mistake, Veloy nifsol kol hamalachos hapshutais. We must not decide that the simple things are not worthy, are beneath us. We must have this idea, I have to do what I can do right now. What can I do right now? What a powerful, powerful, powerful piece of advice. It's mamish the best. So there's two choices. It goes along very well with what they call nowadays victim mentality. I can look around the world and I can blame everybody. I can say, oh yeah, it's these people. I can't believe these people are not giving me a job. I used to help people when I had money, and now no one's giving me a job. I can't believe that these people over here that they're helping the other person and they're not helping me. I can't believe that my parents didn't help me to get back on track. How come they couldn't take over my debt? How come they didn't guide me in the right way? If only they would have raised me better, I wouldn't have made such mistakes. How many people blame their parents for everything? Right? How many people are angry at Hashem? Hashem, why? How come you're not getting me out of here? This is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm telling you, Hashem, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Blaming everybody else. This is the Chochom. This is the beginning of the Nefila of the Chochom. Whereas if that person would just, this is a really important little just technicality over here. But he says like this, that if the person, we'll end with this. A person has to think about what they can do in their life. Has to plan to be successful. Okay? It's good and important to think about, what am I going to do with my life? It only works if, until you find that, until you figure out what it is that you're supposed to do, until you have that clarity. You work in something that you can do to give yourself life, to give yourself simcha, to be doing something. This is the technicality, the important point. Until, through the fact that you started doing something, you started trying to be happy with something, you're going to go from level to level. That's how you're going to go. That's how you're going to move from level to level. But if you don't do anything now, you're not oisek beklum. This is the descent of this type of chachma, and it's going to ruin your lives. And he says, this is mamish awesome. This is why Rabbi Nachman says he went to the shuk. The shuk is the place, makom chitzonim, but it's also the place where things are purchased and acquired, and things are taken. And he says, Shabal Davar, the Satan, the Yitzhahara, the Satan, Oise Itoy Mischar, begins transactions with him. The Satan begins transactions with him. Liknois mimenu nitzoitzim nefulim Rahman al-Tzan. To take from that person those sparks of Kedusha, of holiness, that he could be elevating, that he could be shining. When he puts himself into the situation, he goes to the shuk, he goes to the marketplace. And now those essential parts of that person that could be shining are going to be acquired by the negative forces. And it's the beginning of his descent. So, I think, if I could say, at the end of today's discussion, the two main points that we're coming out with is that it's good for us to think about what we're doing with our lives, what we need to do in general, at any crossroads in our life, right? But it must be directed to Hashem, and it must be that we ask wise people for help. We have rabbis and rebbetzins and friends who are wise, right? Chaverim, friends who are wise, and we go to the tzaddikim, Rabbi Nachman, and we do his bodhidus. We talk to Hashem. That's where we aim our thoughts and everything that we do. Then we're directing our thoughts in the right way and our plans in the right way. We don't go and wander in the marketplace, aimlessly looking and searching. Oh, maybe I'll find this, maybe I'll find this, maybe I'll find this, maybe I'll find this. Scrolling, non-stop, looking. We don't do this. That is going to be what takes us out of of our lives and puts us on the descent of the Chochom. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I think we're going to see this over and over again, is at every moment in our lives, Hashem gives us something to do. And Hashem gives us something that we can be happy about. It's always there. There's always something to do and something to be happy about. And if we choose to do that, no matter how low it seems, no matter how beneath us it seems, then from that place of enlivenment, of doing something good in the world, and doing something to make me happy, I will be able to begin to go from level to level to level to level. But not if I blame the world for everything and live in a state of sadness. That, I think, is the main points of this portion of the story. Okay, everybody, have a super amazing week, and Mirz Hashem, we'll see you soon. And that's it. Purim's coming, right? By the way, I didn't say this before. This story, by the way, is the story of Rabbi Nachman that's connected to the holiday of Purim. Because, of course, Purim, we say, Chayav inish levesume ad deloy yada bein arar Haman the Baruch Mordechai. Ad deloy yada. The whole essence of Purim is to get to a state where we don't know. And the whole the not knowing of Purim is the not knowing of the Tam. Right? It's not being stupid. It's the not knowing. It's the not knowing what I don't need to know. Anyway, well, in Mirz Hashem, we'll as we go through, we'll see in much more depth how this connects to the holiday of Purim also.